It's really not too late to make a New Year's resolution. And tonight we have a suggestion. We didn't think of this ourselves. It comes from an expert who says doing this could change your life for the better. Are you willing to forgive the person who hurt you the most?
Regina Barreca, a professor of English and feminist theory, is the author of Sweet Revenge, The Wicked Delights of Getting Even. What's so sweet about getting revenge?
Oh, it's absolutely satisfying. Revenge is an appetite. The way craving for chocolate is an appetite, the way desire for sex is an appetite.
Barreca doesn't suggest violent revenge, but she believes in getting even.
Everybody deserves some respect. Everybody deserves to be honored as a person. And certain times the world makes that impossible, so you can't walk in through the doors of justice. You sneak in through the windows of revenge.
Which is the theme of the hit movie, The First Wives Club.
Ladies, remember what? Don't get mad. Get everything.
But settling the score isn't always as delightful as it seems, despite its popularity in books and movies. Since childhood, most of us have been taught about the evils of revenge. The Bible cautions that vengeance is not for us mortals, and for centuries, playwrights and philosophers have warned that revenge is a dangerous emotion that can easily spin out of control. So what do you do when someone's done you wrong? Well, a growing number of therapists are now preaching the one word most of us know all too well, but find hard to practice. Forgiveness, a foundation of every major religious tradition, yet many of us have cringed at the idea until now. Forgiveness has suddenly become the subject of books, studies, international conferences, even self-help tapes.
Actually, I can't think of anything more courageous than to forgive.
Dr. Fred de Blasio is a therapist and professor at the University of Maryland at Baltimore. He's now making forgiveness a key ingredient in his family therapy sessions. Until recently, he says, it was a tool that was virtually ignored.
I think it's critical. A lot of times people will be unforgiving of an offense and continue to rehash it in their mind and in their hearts, and it becomes part of their daily life. I believe that forgiveness is a decision, an act of the will, for one to let go of resentment and bitterness.
But as we all know, it's easier said than done. Just ask Kevin Anderson and his wife Patty. They separated recently following months of bitter fights that usually ended with each of them getting revenge.
My attitude in the past has been get even, and get even doesn't work. It got me where I am.
They went through traditional counseling and got nowhere, so they came to see Dr. de Blasio after hearing he specializes in forgiveness therapy, one thing they had not tried.
What I typically will do is have them speak out the anger and the resentment.
He tells me all the time to pack your stuff and leave.
She called the police on me. She had me thrown out of my house.
I didn't know what he would do. I mean, he's never hurt me. He's never hit me or hurt me or anything like that.
They're the same old grudges Patty and Kevin had talked about in other counseling sessions, but they usually never got beyond that. This time, there's a difference. They're asked to own up to what they've done to hurt each other and to ask forgiveness, something their previous therapies simply failed to address.
I'd really like to fix this. I'm not sure it can be done or how to do it, but most of the best times of my life have been spent with Patty. And also the worst.
Dr. de Blasio gives them a homework assignment. Each has to come up with 5 things to ask the other's forgiveness for. It's the first time Kevin and Patty have taken responsibility for fueling their conflicts. A week later, they're back in session.
Kevin, I'm asking you to forgive me for all the 911 calls that I made.
Before you forgive Kevin, you got to realize what's involved. You're not going to use it as a weapon against her or harbor resentment toward her for those 911 calls. Do you think you're ready for that?
Yeah, I'm ready for that. I forgive you for the 911 phone calls. I forgive you for all.
Thanks.
Then it's Kevin's turn.
I want to seek forgiveness for quitting and giving up, telling you you had to leave.
Now with this, like before, you have a real solid commitment to turn away from this. That when things go wrong, you can't just pack the bags and take down the pictures.
Right.
I can forgive you for saying those things to me.
To cement the decision to forgive, Dr. de Blasio asks Patty and Kevin to come up with a ritual to symbolize their renewed relationship.
Got it. Yep. When we originally got separated, I took off my wedding ring and threw it in my office. I believe it's behind my desk.
No 30?
Yeah.
I'll find my ring and I'll put my ring back on.
As I put this on your finger, Kevin, let it be a symbol of the love and the forgiveness that we have for each other and a new beginning.
It seems simple enough, but Kevin and Patty are committing to more than just saying, I'm sorry. They're deciding to change, to bury their old hurts and resentments.
They have a lot of work ahead, but I find that couples that can do this, that they can zoom.
Apparently, forgiving can be a first step toward a happier life, even when the hurt is extremely deep. When we come back, Deborah will show you forgiveness that took years to come. If this woman could do it, why not you? Stay with us. Well, you've seen how forgiveness can break a destructive pattern between husband and wife. Now you'll see its power to heal perhaps the deepest wounds, the scars carried from childhood. And you'll see, as Deborah Roberts continues, what's good for the mind can also be good for the body.
Forgiveness may be the key to preserving marriages, but according to some psychology experts, it might also keep you healthy. Studies show that letting go of anger and resentment can reduce the severity of heart disease, and in some cases even prolong the lives of cancer patients. Overall, it seems forgiveness may be one way to a happier life. Shannon Brumman now thinks so. Until recently, she'd given up on ever having a relationship with her mother.
I had a big, huge grudge that was deep down inside of me that, I didn't want to let go of it.
Since childhood, Shannon and Mom Dorothy fought over everything in long, heated arguments, with Dorothy usually screaming.
I felt like I could never please her. She had a lot of anger towards me. I felt like I was emotionally and at times physically abused.
Did you ever think you could forgive your mom for hurting you so much?
It's not that I didn't think that I could forgive her. I didn't want to.
Shannon eventually stopped seeing her mother, but realized her lingering bitterness was causing her to lash out at her husband and her own 13-year-old daughter. Desperate for help, she convinced her parents to join her in counseling. They went to see Dr. Terry Hargrave, a family therapist in Amarillo, Texas, who's written extensively about forgiveness.
You find a lot of pain being perpetuated from one generation to the next generation to the next generation. Forgiveness allows you to stop that.
But not without hard work. In his book, Families and Forgiveness, Dr. Hargrave suggests that people who want to patch up a broken relationship must first earn the other's forgiveness.
If I'm going to be successful at forgiving somebody, I've got to be at least be reasonably assured that I can stop the pain.
First, he advised Dorothy and Shannon to do what most family therapists would advise: establish limits. Dorothy agreed to stop yelling at her daughter and butting into her life, and Shannon agreed to stop constantly bringing up the past. But their ultimate goal wasn't just calling a truce, it was forgiveness, so they had to do more.
What I really wanted was for her to say, yes, Shannon, I did do this to you, and I'm very sorry.
After only 6 weeks of counseling, Shannon was finally able to forgive.
Did you want forgiveness? Oh, heavens, yes. There's nothing.
It sounds like a mother that doesn't love her child, but there's nothing that I wanted more for us to have that loving relationship. And she was due from the time she was born.
What's it like when you all get together now?
Oh gosh, it's so different. I don't have to worry about what I say anymore. I don't worry about her saying something to upset me.
Shannon, how has it affected your relationship with your husband and with your daughter?
It's saved my marriage.
But the forgiveness movement is not without its critics.
Forgiveness can be actually a trap, particularly premature forgiveness.
Dr. Susan Forward is a therapist and author of the book Toxic Parents. One chapter is entitled, You Don't Have to Forgive.
The definition in the dictionary of forgiveness is to absolve, to pardon, and to overlook. And none of those definitions work for me when you're dealing with someone who's really hurt you.
So are you suggesting that forgiveness is destructive?
It can be.
Something has
But researchers Suzanne Friedman and Bob Enright insist that even in cases of severe abuse, forgiveness can actually be beneficial. They conducted a long-term study on the impact of forgiveness on 12 incest survivors and discovered
They were lower in anxiety, lower in depression, had more self-esteem, more hopeful feelings towards the future.
I talk about my father to my children in a very positive light, which is something I never, ever imagined doing. I never wanted to even speak his name to anyone.
Marianne Sinsky, who says her father molested her, was one of the participants. She and the other subjects were given weekly forgiveness education sessions for an average of 14 months using this manual. All 12 of the subjects were eventually able to forgive.
My question always is, how come the victim, once again, has to do all the work, and the other person who's really done the bad stuff doesn't have to do anything and they get forgiven?
Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is a letting go of your own resentment and bitterness and the feeling for revenge.
Forgiveness is not saying, it's okay, what you did is okay, and I wasn't really hurt by it. It's not that at all. I can still get angry at him, but I am angry at what he did and not at him anymore, and that's a big difference.
There are some horrendous things that happen to people, but at the same time, I think humans have that capacity, even the most horrendous things, to be able to forgive.
It's much better to fight.
Definitely is.
That seems so right, Deborah, that it's hard to imagine anybody being critical of the advice.
Well, I agree with you, but a lot of people worry that forgiveness means that you're setting yourself up to be a doormat, to be abused again and again. But the therapists make it clear they're not suggesting that. They say, in fact, you don't even have to reconcile with someone to forgive. It's more about helping yourself by letting go of anger.
How are Kevin and Patty doing now?
They're doing very well. They've worked very hard on these problems, and they're doing well, and so are Shannon and Dorothy, the mother and daughter we talked about.
Good work. You know, somebody once mentioned, since you have to hate in order to plot revenge, that hate is a weapon we wield by the blade, and it's destructive of oneself.
And everybody's hurt. There's a lot of evidence to support that.
Thank you, Deborah.